What's up YouTube, this is Tubedigga. In this video we're going to take a look at the new articulations feature that's available in the current firmware, which is MPC 3.6. The MPC Live Mark III has the MPC E expressive pads, but we can still use the articulations feature, which I assume was developed to fall in line with that new technology for the pads with the MPC Live Mark III. But we can still use it on our basic pads here. Now, articulations in basic terms are like advanced note repeats, which we can assign to any one of our pads to give ourselves expressive rolls. There's many that we can choose from, and they're all different timing values, etc. So what I'm going to do is chop this aim and break up. So this video will be a lesson on chopping as well, and different ways that you can manipulate a breakbeat. So you can see that here. that I've got the aim and break assigned to pad 1. Let's just take a listen to that. So this is the main sort of section of the clean aim and break taken from the original Winston's Aim and Brother track. So what I'm going to do is chop this break. Now, I prefer to manually chop my breaks, and that's to say I would copy this break to all 16 pads and then go through and adjust the start and end points of every single hit. But for the sake of this video, let's just do it the easy way. Let's go to chop. So you can see we're in trim. We go to chop, press threshold, and then we have to adjust the threshold. It's currently at 65, so we can capture some of these 16th notes like the ghost snares. So if we drop that down, you'll see some more slices get added. Now, even at 0, it's not capturing every single hit. So I'll show you a way to do that. We can move this little grey arrow up to the position where we want to add a new chop and just press the slice plus button in the bottom right hand corner. And that will add a slice there. So let's move that across here to this snare here. That's not been captured for some reason. Let's do it again. I won't use all of these chops, but it's just nice to have full control. That's the way I recommend it if you want to take full control of a sample. Chop it into as many pieces as you need, but I'm not going to need all of these. It's just nice to have that control and flexibility. So I'm going to get all of these hits. These are all 16th notes like ghost snares and double kicks, etc. So that should be pretty much everything. Let's say, just for example, there was a slice from doing the threshold chopping that was here, which is across this crash symbol, which we wouldn't really want. So it's sort of halfway through that crash. If you want to delete a slice like that, just press and hold shift and press slice minus, which is in the bottom right hand corner now. And that will get rid of that. So that's everything chopped. Now we want to press and hold shift, press convert, and we want to choose new drum track using slices. Press do it. Let's go back to the main page. Now we can go back to track 1 and delete that track. We don't have to, but I don't need it, so I'm going to delete it. So now we've got our Amen original. You can see I've spelt it wrong there. It's original. Don't worry about that. Okay, so you can hear that there's some clicks there. We can sort those out easy enough. Let's go back to bank A. So this is our main kick. Okay, so what I'm going to do is reconstruct the break into something just quite simple for the sake of this video. So here on pad 4 in bank B, I've got the main kick. And I'm going to just use these first few pads. We'll do a bit more programming a bit later on in the video, but let's just put a simple beat in, something very typical of drum and bass. So just after this snare, we've got some ghost notes. So this is the ghost note, and this is our ride. go to the arrangement, and I'm just going to get rid of this kick and snare from here, and also populate that with our little shaky ghost notes. So I'm going to press and hold shift, duplicate, and then just nudge them back to there, and then duplicate those again. Next, I'm going to get one of the other snares. So this one here, and let's just transpose that up to here so that gets triggered. So now let's take a look at the articulations. We'll do some more aim and break chopping and other techniques. There's going to be lots more in this video. But let's just take a look at the articulations first of all. So it's the second page of the effects. So for that second snare that we just put in the sequence, let's just take a listen at some of these that might work with the aim and break. So something like that I wouldn't use. I wouldn't use that flam. These are quite good, but they're a bit fast. You can reduce the speed. Now, instead of going through all of these, I could just press play and play back and choose them as the sequence goes round. So that's not too bad, that multiple bounce roll dotted. So let's take a listen to that. You can hear that it carries on over the other hits, even though we've got the program polyphony set to monophonic. So this is where you would have to choke this pad with the others and choose mute group. So we may as well do that for the whole program. Unless you want that bleed, but I don't, I want it to be cut off. So let's choose all pads and let's put the mute group on. So just be wary that the articulations will carry on playing even though you've got the program polyphony set to monophonic. So let's put it back to polyphonic now because we're using mute groups. We don't have to, but I just would rather do that just in case I do want something to bleed over the edge. And if I do, then I would take a particular pad out of a mute group. Okay, so that works nicely. So let's go back to our sequence. So let's now transpose this other snare up, which is this one. And let's actually transpose that down to this one maybe. So that is all the way down the bottom there. So let's grab the snare we want to transpose and go down to the highlighted row there. Okay, so it's this one. Let's choose another articulation. That might work. I forgot to take it out of all mode. So that's quite good because now all of the pads have got this triple paradiddle on, which sounds pretty decent. But as you can see, it kind of carries on through. So that's something to watch out for. Let's undo that. That's lucky that we could undo that. So let's make sure that we take it out of all pads mode. Let's change this. I think there's a triple paradiddle somewhere, which is triple. That one will work quite well. We can times to it or half it, which is quite nice. The half speed version is just not being captured because we need a longer space. We would hear it if we had not set this pad to a mute group. So let's just see what that sounds like. That's quite nice. Let's go back. Now this dynamics, you can see that the higher the value is, the more it will fade out. Okay, so at 0, we're just going to hear the whole articulation roll off over our other hits. With the dynamics at full, 200%, it fades out and gives it a nice fade out. I think maybe something slower, maybe a double. That might work, double paradiddle. Okay, so you can do some really nice things with this articulation feature. Okay, I don't really like the way that rolls over so much, so let's put it back in the mute group. So you get the idea, you can do some really nice stuff. So let's get back into some more engineering type stuff. Let's correct some of these chops. This is going to be quite obvious to a lot of people already, but for those of you that are just starting out, it's handy to know. We can just tidy these breaks up very easily. You can see that the chopping algorithm has sort of put this slightly into the next kick. Make sure that you go up here and turn link slices off, and that way the start point of this won't be affected by the end point of this kick here. So we just want to go through and make all these clean, really. There's a little bit of a click on the end of that. You see it's done it again. It's captured quite a bit of this ghost snare. And you can also get some nice sort of a swing if you adjust the start points. You can sort of drag them back a little bit to give your entire break a bit of a different feel. So when I play back, you will hear that this might, well, you may be able to hear that it might sound a little bit swung. These aren't too bad, particularly with these ghost snares. You need to give them a little bit more breathing space, I find. That's running into the break, the hit in front of it a bit. I do find that the MPC, as much as it's brilliant for chopping, it's sometimes, maybe it's a visual thing that's a bit out of line with the audio. I don't know how that can be, but it seems that if you pull the start point back, it sounds a bit better than where the MPC places it. So you have to kind of do that quite often anyway. We'll just watch out for the double kicks in the aim and break, because they do definitely get chopped quite a lot. Sometimes you'll find this here, you know, the start of it, or this too far back or too far forward. I think it's because they're quite fast. What we really want is just to get the whole thing without any clicks. Sixteenth note, ghost snares. There's our main kick, or one of our kicks, sorry. Again, a ghost snare, which is slightly chopped. And this one's really bad, look. So what I'm doing is pulling this back, which will make the chop shorter, but then I'm compensating for it by just dragging this back a little bit, which in turn gives it quite a nice swing. It makes it sound more natural. There's our main kick. Right, thank goodness. Now, I don't know about you, you might want to go back and check earlier in the video where I was playing this back, but this does sound different to me. I can hear it already. And because I've moved some of the start point, or all of the start points back, we're getting that really nice, clean ride cymbal that's going over the top of all the hits now. Now, I like to chop my breaks like this because now I have full control. And what I like to do is make extensive patterns with with a lot of different variations. So then I can bounce it out, and then it's much easier to chop to get further variations. But, we have now got a break that we can take full control of in terms of pitch. So I've shown this many times in my masterclass videos and on here on YouTube. But now we can pitch this down and it will still sound pretty natural, and it won't have any of those horrible artifacts you get from time stretching and warping. Obviously, the higher you go, the more chopped it's going to be. But we can add tail length to these hits if we do want to fill some of those gaps. I'm not going to do that now because it's the whole break. Maybe I can just do it on these hits that we're actually using in this pattern. It sounds ridiculous, but sometimes it's quite nice to do some weird effects with pitching up like that. I quite like that pitch because it's quite hyper, it's quite ravey. I quite like the way that sounds. Okay, so let's double the length of this sequence and just create some variation in this pattern. So I'm going to grab this kick here in bar 3 and let's pitch that up to, or transpose it, sorry, up to the crash, which is the last hit in bank B, I think. Yeah, so it's just one out there. So because the crash is pretty much a quarter note, I've just created some space there so it doesn't get cut off by that other kick. Again, we can add some tail to that crash, and that will fill that gap. Now, some of you might not like how high pitched this aim and break is. I like it personally. There's something really hyper about it and crisp. But it's quite good to pitch breaks up if you're distorting them. I find the higher the pitch you go and the shorter the chops are, within reason, you can get away with a lot more in terms of distortion. So let's choose all our zones or all our pads. And let's go to the second page of our samples where we get our level control. Once again, this is part of our gain staging. If we're feeding a distortion, particularly the grimy distortion, which I prefer over all of the distortions in MPC, it will overload, and we want to feed it a nice, tame and quiet signal. And sometimes you have to go down really low, I found, to get the best out of that. So let's actually go all the way down to 20. Let's go to the track mixer, go to effects and harmonic, and find distortion grimy. Now, this is going to sound really distorted straight off the bat. That's how aggressive this distortion is. But then we can start playing around with the amplitude envelope of all of our slices. Okay, so it's not too bad, and that's because we dropped down that level. I'll just show you what I mean. If we bring that level back up and start feeding that into the distortion grimy, it's going to sound really horrible. So again, I've reduced it further to 14, and it's sounding pretty decent now. Let's go back and adjust the parameters. Now with the grimy distortion, I like to have the dry wet balance fully wet. I like to keep the drive just right in the middle at 50 where it's set by default. I never use the grime parameter. It seems to take effect on particular types of content. For breaks, it doesn't really do anything for me. Now the controls that I really get most excited about in this distortion is the center and the width and the resonance. If we put a big, nice value in the resonance there, it's going to put a spike in the frequency, which we can find with the center and the width. So the width is like the Q value for the resonance. So that's the amount of resonance. The width is just like a filter. You've got your Q, which is going to be either putting a tight spike in it or a wide spike in it. And then the center is sweeping through the frequency. So I'll show you some of the nice, particularly in the low end, you get some nice bumps in samples when you start playing around with this. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff with the grimy distortion, or distortion grimy there. So the other thing we can do to tame this, if it's a bit too much for you, we can switch all of our pads. So we're in all pads mode or all zones mode. We can switch our amp envelope to attack, hold, decay, sustain. And the first thing I always do is drag this down. So you want to be playing back whilst doing this. So I'll play back and you'll see me drag down the sustain and then slowly drag out the decay. Once you're satisfied with the amount of signal that's being passed through the amp envelope, we can start bringing the sustain up a little bit more now. Let's take it out of all zones and go back to current. The crash, we need to fully open that because it's a longer chop. It's not an eighth note, it's a quarter note. So let's listen to it now. And thereafter, we've processed it with the grimy distortion and done the amp envelope stuff, but let's just check out what it sounds like if we drop the pitch again. Cool. So some nice little interesting techniques that you can try out there. Another thing that's great with 3.6 with the Pro Pack is we've obviously got the clips or the clip matrix, which was here, but it seems to have disappeared for some reason. And if we just go over here, clip matrix, let's drag that there. So if we go to the clip matrix, so you can see that I haven't got that pattern in the clip matrix. To get it in there, we can go back to main, double tap into arrangement, go to arrange, and there's our 4-bar sequence there of the Amen. If we press and hold on that, we can copy that arrangement to clip. So that is now in our clip matrix. So if we go to the clip matrix, you can see we've got it there. Let's copy that. So just the copy at the top and press on a blank slot and press paste. Now, something that has been in the Kai Force for some time is snapshots, and we've got them now. So this is a really great feature. So over here, we've got our row launch buttons. And if we press and hold on there, we can take a snapshot. So what that's done is locked in all the current parameters. So that means now if we go to this row launch, this is in exactly the same state as the clip above it, but we can now affect the entire pitch of the aim and break program. Okay, so we can go back to the clips and we can take a snapshot of that. So now we can flip-flop between these two pitch states with these aim and breaks. Now you can see I pressed the clip there and it's playing the current pitch, even though we took a snapshot of this with the higher pitch, but that's because we need to launch it from there. This is what holds the snapshot information. We can obviously take this clip, or in fact this entire row, which would make more sense. We can copy this and then we can paste it to row 3. So now row 3 is going to have that high pitched Amen. But we can go into the clip, so we do edit event, and now we can remix this. So we can, you know, just move some of our hits around just by transposing them up and do all kinds of stuff. Let's actually find we've not used this snare here, so okay, so it's there. We want to move that down too. So it's just this here. I want to transpose that down to that snare. So there's a gap here that we can fill, and let's fill that with maybe another snare. I'm thinking an articulation would work better. So let's take that snare and let's put an articulation on it. That triple paradiddle should work. maybe something a bit faster than that. No. It's quite nice. It's quite nice as well. Bit weird. That should work well. Thinking maybe some of the pitched ones. If you double tap here, we get the actual articulations main menu with all the different ones. We've got pitched rolls. Let's... Okay, that's very jungle. Great, so that is classic jungle there. So you wouldn't want that repeating constantly. Well, at least I wouldn't. So what we could do is edit that event and then go to edit and double the length. And we can get rid of that. We can transpose it up to maybe a kick. So the kicks as well. Where is that kick? It's in B, isn't it? So what we could do is copy a kick to a blank pad, which we will have in bank C. So let's do that and put an articulation on that. So let's press copy, press on the screen, go to bank C, and I'm just going to put it over that snare I never use. So let's go to bank C and let's put an articulation on that. So again, the triple paradiddle, and let's go back into our clip and let's just take a listen. Okay, let's just choose this and go up to that kick that we just made. Okay, so just a little double kick there. Let's see what it would sound like if we got rid of these so it doesn't cut off. Okay, so strangely enough, oh right, it's got a snare there as well, but I quite liked how that sounds. So I'm going to get rid of that and just take a listen. If it doesn't sound good, I'll put that snare back in. Yeah, I preferred it with the snare in. Anyway, so main, clip matrix, let's just have another play with these. The possibilities are endless. Copy, let's put another copy of that. Now, you notice I copied the low-pitched Amon, or you might have noticed, to here, but I didn't copy the snapshot, okay? But you can hear that when I play it back, it's still you know, playing at that low pitch. So it does retain those settings, but if you want to take a snapshot of it to lock it in, then that's a good idea to do so. I just wanted to go in here and edit the event, and I wanted to grab these. I'll just get the ideas for different patterns as I go along. Let's put these on the crash. Let's get that out. And get that other ride out. Where are the double kicks? It's these two. So I wouldn't mind putting some of those in somewhere. I always like those double kicks because they just give a really nice funk to the aim and brake, particularly if you do them twice in succession. And of course, we can just copy this entire arrangement with this snapshot here. So we can just do copy, paste it onto the one below, and then take a snapshot, even though it's got the low pitch at the moment. We can just pitch that back up. Okay, so we've just taken a snapshot of it again with different settings. We can, of course, do what I showed you in one of my previous videos, is go to settings, and we can choose follow actions. So we can, again, choose random, exclude this for all of these. Follow action, exclude this. So all of our clips are just gonna, you know, randomly play back, which is just nice to hear if you just want to kick off some breaks and just have it all play back automatically for you. So you can see as well, we've got these nice icons to show that we've got the follow actions there and we're snapshotting them as well. So I'm going to round this video up in a second, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just going to play these back and see what ones it picks. There's plenty of other techniques you could do with aim and brakes. You can find them in my MPC Masterclass video courses. All the links for that is in the description of this video, along with my email address if you want private lessons, or if you just want to ask me any questions. If you've got any comments, please put them down below. And yeah, I will see you on the next one. I'm just going to play the video out with a little mashup with all these randomly playing back. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.